While we wait for the server connection, if the liaison and Susie and if Ashley can test their microphones, make sure they're working.
Hi, it's Susie. Can you hear me?
Hi, Susie. Yes, we can hear you loud and clear. Thank you. How about you, Ashley?
Oh, yes. I was talking into my muted thing. Can you hear me now?
Yep, we can hear you.
Hello. All right, now I'll mute again. Bye.
Hello, all. Brian Muser's here, but I may not be set up totally correct.
Board member Muser, you are set up. I renamed you to board member Brian Muser, and you are showing up as a panelist.
Okay, my video is saying that it's disabled.
Oh, no. Right now we're seeing you.
It says you cannot start your video because
these videos will be visible.
Okay, thank you.
For one more board member, two more board members. I have just loaded or promoted board member Kathy Garrett as a panelist. In the attendee section, we have a Mark D. Mark D, if you can unmute yourself and let us know if that's board member DeBacher, we'll rename you and promote you to panelist.
Hi, this is Mark. Can you hear me?
Yes, board member DeBacher, we can hear you. You're showing up as Mark D, so I'm going to rename you and then promote you to panelist.
Thank you.
Triple, can you please test your microphone? Andrew.
Oh, yes. This is Andrew Triple, Senior Planner and the Project Planner for this meeting item.
Perfect. We can hear you loud and clear. I'm going to mute you for now. Thank you.
Chair Edmondson, all board members are present. It looks like we're ready to go.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. And for starting the videos, that'll all happen simultaneously without board members taking any action? Or how will that proceed?
Oh, okay. I think the board members each need to start their cameras. If you look at the bottom of your screen, there should be a start video button.
It still comes across with the message that it's disabled for me. You cannot start your video because the host is disabled. It's the same thing that board member Muser.
Mine is also disabled. I'm Kathy.
Yes, Brian is also disabled.
Okay, we'll look into that. No, it was a setting. Okay, board members, I have changed a setting, and if you can try again on your cameras.
This is Chair Edmondson. I still get the same message, unfortunately.
This is Kathy Garrett. So do I.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is, we're working on it. One moment.
This is Member DeBacher, and I also am not able to get video.
Hi, board members. This is the host. It's going to take us a second. We're messing with the settings. If you can bear with us, thank you. You understand that no one has video capabilities at this time. Thank you. And I'm going to ask if you can all stay muted until we're ready to start. Thank you. Chair Edmondson, can you test it one more time? Can you start video?
Yeah, let me try that. I think it's about to work. Yeah, I didn't get the message this time. So.
Right.
Looks like I'm on video. I don't know if it's coming across, but the device is recording, it seems.
Okay, Chair Edmondson, if you can hear me, I'm sorry, we were discussing
I was going to say, like,
the technical issues and we are ready to start.
Okay, I only see video of myself in the corner. Are staff going to be on video or just on mic?
The board is on video, staff is not, and the board members should be able to start their videos at this point.
Okay, board members, if you would please start your videos so we can make sure everybody is all set. Okay, I believe we have everybody. So let me get started. Staff, any additional matters before I start the meeting?
Headphones aren't working.
Chair Edmondson, this is Susie. I don't see Laura, and I know she was on a little while ago. Laura, are you there?
I'm in the process of promoting her back to panelist. It looks like her connection keeps dropping.
Okay, thanks, Patty.
Well, good to see everybody.
And I believe everybody is in now.
Okay. All right. If you are watching this, we are about to begin a meeting of the City of Santa Rosa Cultural Heritage Board. Ordinarily, we begin these meetings with the call to order, but in the circumstance of this remote meeting, I'm going to read some notices before I call the meeting to order. An important notice regarding Cultural Heritage Board meetings. Due to the provisions of the Governor's Executive Orders N-25-20 and N-29-20, which suspend certain requirements of the Brown Act, and the order of the Health Officer of the County of Sonoma to shelter in place to minimize the spread of COVID-19, the board members will participate by teleconference into this Cultural Heritage Board meeting of August 5th, 2020. The live stream of this meeting will be uploaded to the City of Santa Rosa website as soon as possible after the meeting concludes. If you are a member of the public who is watching or listening to this and you emailed or called in a public comment prior to the meeting, those comments will be summarized for comments into the record, but full emails will be archived as part of the record. And so with that, we are ready to call the meeting to order. I'd like to call to order a meeting of the City of Santa Rosa Cultural Heritage Board. We will be conducting today's meeting in a virtual setting using Zoom. Board members and staff are participating from remote locations and practicing appropriate social distancing. Members of the public may view and listen to the meeting as noted on the City of Santa Rosa website and as noted on the agenda. Recording Secretary, may we please have the roll call?
Let the record reflect that all board members are present.
Thank you very much. Next, we're going to move to the next item on the agenda, which is the approval of our February 19th, 2020 draft minutes. I had one typographical correction to those minutes, and it is on page 4, the third line from the bottom, the rightmost word, the letter A, I think is just a typo. That's all I have, board members. I suppose I could proceed one by one, or we could use the hand raising function if that's something that staff allows, but please share any comments or revisions to the draft minutes from our February meeting. And I'm not seeing anyone speaking or unmuting their microphones, so I will presume that that means there are no comments or revisions, and so those minutes will stand as printed. And we will move on to the next item, board business, and I'll begin by reading the Cultural Heritage Board Statement of Purpose. The Cultural Heritage Board shall determine the following matters, standards, guidelines, and criteria to the extent applicable in determining whether to grant or deny a permit, whether the proposed change is consistent or incompatible with the architectural period of the building, whether the proposed change is compatible with any adjacent or nearby landmark structures or preservation district structures, whether the colors, textures, materials, fenestration, decorative features, and details proposed are consistent with the period and or are compatible with adjacent features, and whether the proposed change destroys or adversely affects an important architectural feature or features, as well as the Secretary of the Interior's standards for rehabilitation and guidelines for rehabilitating historic buildings, as well as such other matters, criteria, and standards as may be adopted by resolution of the Cultural Heritage Board. That concludes the statement of purpose. I will now move to public comments for items not on the agenda. There is one public hearing on the agenda, that will be an opportunity for public comment regarding that item in the course of our consideration of that. If any member of the public wishes to make a comment on a matter that may be of interest to the board that's not on the agenda, I will open the public hearing, and members of the public will have up to 3 minutes to make their comments. I didn't see any correspondence indicating that there would be public comments, but you don't need to have corresponded or notified us ahead of time to make a comment. And I would appreciate the assistance of staff to help me determine when the public hearing could be closed due to no further comment being offered by the members of the public. So with that, I'll open the public hearing. I don't have a gavel, but I will bang my desk. And do any members of the public wish to comment?
Chair Edmondson, this is the host. It does not appear that anyone is raising their hand at this time.
Thank you very much. If any members of the public were having technical issues or believe that they were present and unable to comment, we would appreciate you sending an email to Ms. Murray or Mr. Triple or another member of the staff, and as soon as possible to make that known, and we'll try to give an opportunity for comment later if that's the case.
Excuse me, Chair Edmondson.
Yes, Ms. Murray.
Prior to starting the public hearing, would you also do, it requires ex parte disclosure?
Right. My preference would be to ask for the ex parte disclosures after introducing the item, but I can do it in a different order if staff prefers.
No, you do it in the order you like. It's just not on the agenda, and I wanted to mention it.
Thanks very much. I have forgotten that in a few hearings, and I always need staff to keep me on track. So thank you. Before we move to item, is it 6.1? It must be, it usually is. The public hearing, board members, are there any abstentions from the public hearing? And I'm not seeing anybody manifest any abstention, so no statements of abstention. And with that, we will move to our one public hearing, which is landmark alteration permits for the Kelly Residence Alterations project at 230 Boyce Street in the West End neighborhood. Board members, this is a matter requiring ex parte disclosures of any information learned that is not in the public record. And I think I'm going to proceed member by member and ask that you unmute and share any ex parte disclosures or the fact that you have none. And I'm going to proceed in the order that they appear on my screen. Board Member Garrett, any ex parte disclosures?
I went to the project and walked around, but that's it.
Okay. Board Member DeBacher, any ex parte disclosures?
I've visited the site and did not run into anyone to speak to while there.
All right. Board Member Groningen, please, any ex parte disclosures?
Yes, I visited the site and have nothing further to report.
Thank you. Board Member McHugh, any ex parte disclosures? And it looks like your mic is still muted. And there we go.
No ex parte disclosure.
Thank you very much. Board Member Muser, any ex parte disclosures?
I visited the site also, but no other disclosure.
Okay. And Vice Chair Fennell, any ex parte disclosures?
Site visit only, nothing else to add.
Thank you very much. And I also visited the site and have no information that I learned that's not in the record to add. So with that, let us move to the staff presentation. Mr. Triple is the staff member, senior planner, will be giving the staff presentation. And whenever you're ready, Mr. Triple, if you could take it away.
Great. Thank you, Chair Edmondson, and good afternoon, members of the Cultural Heritage Board. Just to double check, Mike, is my audio working?
Yes, we hear you loud and clear.
Great, thank you. So today's presentation and project is for the Kelly Residence Alterations at 230 Boyce Street. Next slide, please. And the proposed alterations would consist of raising the existing residence foundation 18 inches and installing new base trim, reconstructing an existing stairway by adding a landing and 3 risers, replacing or installing existing windows and new ground floor door at various locations. Next slide, please. So if this project looks familiar to some of you, in January 8, 2018, the Cultural Heritage Board reviewed this project and did approve resolution number 326 for the same project. That resolution is valid for a period of 2 years and expires if the approval is not vested. On January 7th of this year, resolution number 326 expired because the approval granted was not vested. The applicant submitted a new application on May 27th using the project plan set that was approved. And on June 9th, planning staff deemed the application complete. On June 19th, the notice of application was distributed to property owners within 600 feet of the proposed project site. And on July 21st, a notice of public hearing was distributed for today's public hearing. We did receive 2 comments in response to the notice of application and notice of public hearing, and I will summarize those comments later in the project. Next slide, please. So the project location is 230 Boyce Street. I do want to point out that due to a planning staff error, the project site is misidentified in this and the upcoming 3 slides. The project location is in fact immediately to the left of the outlined and starred parcel. So it's the second parcel in from Coulter Street moving east on Boyce Street. Next slide, please. And here we see a bit closer again, looking to the left of the starred parcel, we can see the parcel developed for single-family residential use with the single-family residence located to the front of the parcel. The remainder of the parcel developed as backyard with some raised beds and then an accessory garage structure in the lower right-hand corner of the parcel. Next slide, please. The general plan land use designation is low density residential, and the proposed project is consistent with the general plan in that the proposed changes would implement goal historic preservation B, which is to preserve Santa Rosa's historic structures and neighborhoods by ensuring that the proposed alterations are compatible with the character of the structure and the neighborhood. Next slide, please. Project site is located within the heart of the West End Preservation District. The structure is a contributor to the establishment of the West End Preservation District. It's referred to as the Cristini Gaspari House, originally developed circa 1904. Based upon a report from William Mark Perry, qualified historic architect and architectural historian of December 6, 2017, the proposed project is consistent with applicable standards from the Secretary of the Interior Standards for Rehabilitation, in that the proposed project includes both preservation and rehabilitation elements, meeting the standards for treatment of historic properties in each category. This report has been provided to Cultural Heritage Board members and to the public as an attachment to today's meeting item. Next slide, please. And then this slide reflects historic preservation district properties. The subject parcel, again located the second parcel in east of Coulter Street on Boy Street, and is identified as a contributor to the historic preservation district. Next slide, please. So this is an aerial view of the project site looking southwest. We can see here the sort of aqua blue colored home that is 2 parcels in from the intersection and central in the image before you today. We can also see the really looking at the heights and the overall development pattern of the surrounding properties as well. Next slide, please. This is a street view looking to the east down Boyce Street. And if you look on the right-hand side of the parcel of the image, you do see the project site. It does have a street tree in front of it. And there we can see just primarily the front porch and the existing stairs. Next slide, please. And then looking west down Boyce Street with the project site in down the street and to the left, we can see that in comparison to the residences visible on the south side of Boyce Street, it does have building height that extends up over those residences. However, it is more comparable to the existing residences on the north side of Boyce Street or the right side of the image. Next slide, please. And this image reflects the existing site development. Again, we have the single family residence located to the front of a rather long and narrow parcel with the garage accessory structure located to the rear in the far corner of it. Running alongside the existing primary residence and back to the garage is a driveway. And one of the conditions of approval that will be in today's resolution would require that the driveway be paved from the back of the sidewalk to the garage location, maintaining an 8-foot width from the street to the back of the residence, and then widening to 12 feet upon clearance of the existing structure into the garage door. Additionally, the Exhibit A, which is included and required for compliance as a condition of approval, would replace the existing driveway apron that features a center island with a continuous driveway apron throughout. Next slide, please. And here we have some images provided of the front and rear of the primary residence. We can see the elevated front porch in your left image, and then some of the existing windows and portion of the ground floor windows and the door that would be proposed for relocation and replacement. Next slide, please. And then the current floor plan to the right is the existing main level floor plan. And we do then on the left show the existing lower level floor plan, which does have primarily just some usable space, albeit with lower ceilings, which is one of the primary goals of this proposal, to elevate that ceiling on the lower level, as well as a restroom on the lower level. Next slide, please. And the existing structure elevations are provided with the W indicating the west elevation, S for south, E for east, and then N for north, or the front elevation. In addition to the reorientation and reconstruction of the entry stair on the front or north elevation, as well as changes to windows and the door on the west elevation, the project would also propose to replace the multi-paned window shown on the south elevation with a slider window, and then install a larger slider window on the east elevation's ground level. Next slide, please. And so here we can see proposed alterations to the north or front elevation, primarily reflecting the reorientation of the stair, as well as the increased height of 18 inches as a result of raising the foundation. Referring to Mr. Perry's report, he states that preservation elements include retaining the historic use and character of the property, while rehabilitation elements are evident in the ground floor remaining subordinate to the upper level as originally designed, and the new work is differentiated from the original structure, but compatible with historic materials, features, scale and proportion, and massing. The raising of the structure attains the floor height required to comply with current city building code, with a minimal loss to the historic fabric of the structure, and it ensures that the character-defining elements are not obscured, damaged, or destroyed. Additionally, the new ground floor height will not overpower the original structure, thus retaining the dominant upper floor characteristics of the original structure and similar to other historic homes in the preservation district. And finally, the proposed new landing, stair, and railing are differentiated from the historic building so that the original building integrity is retained. Next slide, please. So by raising the structure 18 inches, it does require a bit of minor adjustment to the proposed foundation and base trim detail. This would be differentiated from the historic building so that the original building integrity is retained. Next slide, please. And here we can see a building height comparison with other structures, both along Coulter Street, or along Boyce Street rather, but then within proximate distance of the project site in the West End Preservation District. Those heights are ranging from 60 feet to 77 feet. And then for the proposed project, that would give it an overall height of 82 feet after the 18-inch elevation of the foundation. Next slide, please. So then the proposed alterations on the west elevation, we can see there on looking at the left of the proposed sketch, the existing stair and porch would be raised 18 inches and it would be reoriented to provide 3 steps up to a new landing and then on up to the front porch level itself. The doorway would be moved from the rear portion of the house to a little bit more central location. Base trim would be added, and then the windows would be replaced. Next slide, please. And then the overall proposed alterations to all elevations. Planning staff has reviewed the proposed alterations and concludes that the project is consistent with the applicable guidelines from the processing review procedures for owners of historic properties, in that there is minimal loss to the historic fabric of the structure and ensures that character-defining elements are not obscured, damaged, or destroyed. Additionally, the new ground floor height would not overpower the original structure, thus retaining the dominant upper floor characteristic of the original structure and its similarity to other historic homes in the preservation district. Additionally, based upon review by the Cultural Heritage Board in January of 2018, additional conditions of approval were required in that the proposed window replacements would be replaced with Marvin Integrity Series clad wood windows on all of the ground floor egress window openings, and that there would be no objection to replacing windows on the south elevation or the southernmost window on the west elevation with windows of the same series. Additionally, the patched openings where they would exist after replacement and relocation of the door shall match identically the existing adjacent siding. And finally, the railings at the new landing and the stair shall match existing railing in spacing, shape, and material. Next slide, please. The project application was reviewed in compliance with the California Environmental Quality Act and would qualify for a Class 31 categorical exemption in that the project is limited to the maintenance, repair, stabilization, rehabilitation, restoration, preservation, conservation of a historic resource. And there we also reference the Historic Architecture Report dated December 6, 2017, which identifies that the proposed changes are a mix of preservation and historic rehabilitation efforts described by the Secretary of the Interior standards of care, and that all of the proposed alterations are in general conformance to the Secretary of the Interior's standards of care for the treatment of historic properties. Next slide, please. So planning has completed review and no issues remain to be addressed. Next slide, please. We did receive 2 public comments. One comment received in response to the notice of application and notice of public hearing prior to preparation of the meeting item. And that comment was made available and summarized in the staff report. Additionally, we received a comment on July 28th, and that was provided as late correspondence to Cultural Heritage Board members. In summary, both comments support the modifications made to the project, felt that it would enhance the use of the ground floor level and would contribute to preservation and the continued use of properties within the West End Preservation District. Next slide, please. With that, it is recommended by Planning and Economic Development Department that the Cultural Heritage Board, by resolution, approve the Kelly residence alterations for the property located at 230 Boyce Street, assessor parcel number 010146002. Staff is available to answer any questions, and the applicant team is available as well to provide comments and answer any questions that board members might have. Thank you.
Chair Edmondson, you're muted.
No video. Let me know.
All right, everybody's got to do it once. I just wanted to thank Mr. Triple, and then I wanted to ask staff if the applicant has indicated that they would like to make a presentation or not. Is there any information you have on that question?
Sure. Yes, Chair Edmondson, they are available and they would like to, if there's no questions for staff, to provide some comments on the proposal and why it's important for them to, especially to create a more livable, code compliant ground floor space.
Okay. The procedure, it looks like that we tend to follow is to ask board members individually at this point if there are any questions of staff, but I think we might want to proceed directly to the applicant presentation if staff and board members are comfortable with that. Does anybody have any comment or objection to that idea? And I'm not seeing the gallery view video, so I can't see anybody trying to speak.
I do have a question. I do have a question, board chair.
Okay, board member DeBacher, go ahead, please. Board Member DeBacher,
Thank you.
Great. Okay.
Yes. The only question I really have is, do we have two different sets of exterior elevations before us today that are different? One of them is dated, received May 26th, and one of them is undated, and they're sheets A3. And I believe we were reviewing the one dated May 26th today. Which set of elevations are we reviewing today?
So I'm not sure about the undated set of elevations. You should have in your board packet, meeting item packet, the elevations that were dated received May 27, 2020. Or I'm sorry, May 26, 2020.
This is Board Member DeBacher. The elevations that were presented today in the presentation are actually dated 2015 and 2016, I believe, not 2020. The 2020 version has smaller windows that are closer in size to the existing windows rather than the large ground floor window shown on the what was presented today.
And if I could just interject before staff responds, I am looking here, of course, at the cover sheet for the May 26th set, and there's no notation that there were revisions between the prior board consideration and the submittal set for this permit application. But I don't question Board Member DeBacher's comment about the visual differences. Although the staff report did say in, I think, no uncertain terms that the supporting materials are the same, although did, of course, reference that the plans were resubmitted because the process had to start over again. So that's just my comment, and then we're happy to hear any feedback on that from staff.
Board Chair, let me hold, if I could, you have the video back on here again. I could hold the two examples up, and maybe there might be some clarification to that for the video. Is that possible?
I have certainly no objection to it, and if staff doesn't have any reason we shouldn't do that, then that might be a great help.
No, I think that's fine. We could also pull up the May 26, 2020 and look at that directly. That would be more clear. But yes, I do see now that the windows are different on the ground level.
Yeah, and those sets were included in my package.
Yeah, and now that Board Member DeBacher points it out, it is obvious. I guess in theory it could be some sort of scaling thing, but that doesn't seem likely.
The windows are actually, one is a casement and one is a large slider. And so it's a significant difference in the location and proportion of the windows in each case. So I'm just trying to clarify which one we're looking at today, or if we're looking at both for comment.
Right. So I think that would be an appropriate question for the applicant architect to clarify. If we're looking at A3 received on May 26. It looks like the other was included as an attachment, perhaps to the plans that were part of the historic resource report.
Could we perhaps take a look at the agenda and the supporting materials for the CHB meeting on January 3rd, 2018, and cross-check those plans against the May 26th plans? Maybe perhaps the graphics that made their way into the staff report are just some sort of version that was superseded or was just done in error. I think the significant question is whether these are identical to the 2018 version, or even though the board has ordinary discretion over the permit application here, it would be material to me to know if it matched.
Chair Edmondson?
Yes.
This is Susie and Andrew. I'm wondering if the applicant is available. The applicant should also verify. It doesn't have to be their architect.
Yeah, I would be happy to hear any sort of info from the applicant that could help us with this. So I'll open the floor. If the applicant could announce their presence and give us any answer you'd like to give us about this. And I just want to say that I will acknowledge your presence just in case we've got microphones muted, like I did earlier, to make sure that that's not what's happening if we have silence.
It'll be 1 second, Chair Edmondson. We're going to get them the appropriate settings.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Maloney.
Hi, this is a recording secretary. I see 2 hands raised, one for Robin, one for Alan. Are you on the applicant team? I can unmute you for a second if you can let me know.
Hi, yes.
Yes, I'm on the applicant team.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Okay, so I think you guys can hear me now.
I certainly can. If you could just state your name, please, and go ahead and proceed with your answer to this question. And then for a broader presentation, we'll sort of ask for that once we're through this question or any other board member questions for staff.
Great. So hi, my name is Robin Stefani, and I'm working with Alan Kelly on the interior design and future permit to come for this drawing, although the Cultural Heritage Board packet was created by Mark Perry previously, and we resubmitted that packet as it was. The confusion about the windows that are in my record drawing of the previous application that was approved are of the smaller casement windows that match in width the windows above them. And that is the drawing set on your packet that is marked with the May 26, 2020 date in blue.
Okay, so just to confirm, that means that there is, perfect matching, identical plan sets or elevations for this application for the prior application. Is that correct?
That is my understanding, yes.
Okay. Board Member DeBacher, would you like to ask any questions of Ms. Stefani?
Only just to confirm that what was just stated, the very first set of drawings that is in our set is in fact the narrow windows that match the larger set of windows all the way at the back of the set that's provided, the back of the package. And that is the one that was actually presented to us today by staff. And I just want to confirm that we're actually reviewing the one with the narrow casements aligned with the upper windows today.
Yes, sir. Correct.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Board members, I do not see the gallery view right now, but I'd like to ask for any other questions or comments to staff before we ask for the applicant presentation. And there I see you now. Board members, any further questions for staff? Okay, I just wanted to make a quick comment that the staff report, I think last meeting talked about including more of the legal standards and Secretary of the Interior standards and design guidelines directly in the staff report. And that definitely is in this staff report, and appreciate the attention to meeting that board's request. With that, I would invite one or more, anybody who would like to from the applicant team to address the board and give your presentation. So you have the floor, and please identify yourself, and I will acknowledge you to confirm that your microphone is open.
Yes, this is Alan Kelly. Thank you, board members. I appreciate this hearing. So I think Andrew Trappell summed it up best, was that we're just taking a current habitable space and just bringing it up to current standard. I don't think for any other reason that it's just for my family, and it's going to comply with current ceiling height standards. And it's something that was a habitable space before. It is a habitable space, and just making it something that is up to current standards. The only one question I have is the feasibility of the driveway space. I've heard that was something new. I hadn't heard that from the first time around. The 12-foot driveway space from the back of the house to the garage. That would essentially tear out about a third of our backyard. So I'm just questioning the feasibility of putting a driveway. I mean, if it's a matter of removing the garage itself, we're more than willing to, but it's, like I said, the feasibility of having this driveway space that would tear up a third of our backyard.
I suppose if the applicant team doesn't object, I would maybe just forward that question on to staff right now so we can address it. Are there any conditions with respect to the driveway improvements that are different than the ones that applied to the prior permit?
I had not received any conditions regarding the driveway improvements.
We have the Engineering Development Services Exhibit A to the resolution that's under consideration today. It has sort of a semi-detailed list of 2 private street driveway improvements conditions, but they're not stated in such a way that the dimensions or the space requirements are included in full. Is it possible, staff, if you might know the answer, were there any code changes or changes in law that account for the difference, that we're considering the same plans, but if there is this new requirement or different requirement, could that be how it originated, or is that, any other ideas that you might have about the applicant's comment?
Well, sure. So I'm looking at CHB resolution number 326, and that was approved on January 8th or January 3rd of 2018. And condition of approval number 5 has paved driveway from back of sidewalk to garage location, maintaining the existing 8-foot width from street to back of residence, and then widening to 12 feet upon clearance of existing structure and to the garage door. And so that same condition from the 2018 resolution was brought forward to the 2020 resolution with no change to the content of that condition of approval. What I am doing right now is trying to check with the city engineer to see if there might be the opportunity for the applicant to request a variance to that driveway width, which would allow him to reduce the width to less than 12 feet as it moves from the rear of the primary structure back to the garage, and would help preserve some of that backyard space then.
Would I be able to, if I were to remove the garage entirely, would I be able to remove that aspect of having to put a driveway in?
Well, I think the challenge with the garage removal is that you are required to have one covered parking space for a single family residential use. And so to remove the garage would, then you would be non-compliant with the parking requirements in that you wouldn't have your covered parking space.
Okay.
So question for staff, is the condition as written with respect to how it applies to the specific site plan, does it represent the minimum realistic manner in which to comply with our zoning laws with respect to this driveway?
Well, that's correct. The minimum width for a residential driveway is 12 feet. So what the condition does is acknowledge the width available from the existing property line to the existing residence, which would be the 8-foot width from the street to the back of the residence, and then widens it to 12 feet to comply with current standards for residential driveways.
Okay.
Sure.
Yes. Board Member DeBacher, please.
Yeah, if I may, just for the clarification and keep us focused, the driveway width probably can't be considered to be a historic aspect of our project review.
No, I wouldn't think so. I would think that
between the applicant and the planning department.
Well,
yeah, I would say, however, that if they're considering demolishing the garage, that would be in our purview.
I think that's a correct comment, and certainly that's not relevant to historic standards, but it is in the resolution that we would be passing. So we're the authority that would implement the condition, and I don't think anybody else would be positioned to, have authority over the subject matter. And I assume that how it comes into this process is just because of our power to condition permits. Staff, if you could just follow along with this conversation and shed light on that issue raised by Board Member DeBacher, please.
Right, we are working on that right now. So.
Hi, this is Robin Stefani, the architect working with the client. And I am curious if there is an opportunity to request the variance, as this is obviously a historic neighborhood with a, not a typical zoning situation that you would find in an average suburban neighborhood. And so at the very minimum, allowing us to keep to an 8-foot width, since you don't, the point of being able to have the width is that you're able to get down the driveway. So widening it to 12 feet seems a little, not useful. And additionally, if there's an opportunity to include some sort of maybe like not necessarily all concrete, but more of a historic pattern of I forget what they're called right now, but the wheel with concrete strips. Mark, you probably know what I'm talking about. The more of the older carriage driveway style, so that it's
Hollywood.
Hollywood style, correct.
There you Yeah, so that it's more in keeping with the neighborhood. And also, minimizing the low impact development or improving the low impact development outcomes so we don't have a huge concrete driveway that is draining into the house, which is my concern.
So I would suggest that, to the extent it's not relevant to the permit findings that we would need to make, I think Board Member DeBakker's point is well taken that whether we have the authority or not, and to the extent they're in our resolution, I do think it's it's incumbent upon us to consider it. But if we could just strike it entirely from the resolution, maybe it would be dealt with at the building permit stage. I also am uncertain that we have the power under the code to grant a variance, except as to certain features or standards. Typically, I think the variance would be the zoning administrator or the planning commission. So just if you could take it away, please, staff, with any comments on everything we're talking about.
Chair Edmondson?
Yes.
Would it be acceptable to revise the condition to require that a driveway be installed and require staff's approval prior to that? Basically, kicking it down to staff. There are several options. The Hollywood Drive is one. A paved driveway is another. I don't think we need to resolve the design in this meeting, but we do need to. They do need a driveway. So,
board members, any reaction to Ms. Murray's suggestion? And I'm not seeing. I see Board Member Muser. Are you unmuting? Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I just had similar feelings that with regards to the driveway and features like that in historic neighborhoods, I know that there is some latitude. We have so many houses that are built, with just 8 feet clearance between the two, and it's pretty natural feature, and it's pretty unnatural what's really being proposed to go 8 feet and then widen out into the backyard. And I guess if we are unclear whether we have the authority to change that, then I'm all for seeing if we can remove that from the resolution and let it be handled elsewhere.
Is it correct that there is a gate at the point at which the driveway runs parallel to the side of the structure, the innermost in the lot?
Yes, that's correct.
So it would be correct to say that were we to approve this permit and the project to move forward in accordance with the permits and plans, that whenever the gate is closed, the portion of the driveway that would be affected by the application of that condition is a portion of the driveway that is not seen by the public. It's not in public view. Is that correct?
Correct.
I think that under those circumstances, it's immaterial, and I'd prefer personally for us to just bypass this issue.
I'm going to interrupt again. I'm so sorry. This is Susie again. Can we take a 5-minute break so we can just do some digging around in that zoning code and reconvene in a couple minutes? And
absolutely.
We can give you some better information.
Absolutely. Is there, well, if to the extent I'm needed to handle this 5 minutes, let me know. If staff wants to keep time on the 5 minutes and reopen microphones and, I don't know, if videos keep playing, I assume that's coming off. So you have my blessing to reopen, and then I'll announce that the.
So, and I'm going to try. I'm going to take. Can I change that to 5 to 10 minutes? I don't want to.
Right. All right, we are going to. We're going to take a 5-minute to 10-minute recess at staff's discretion, and they will reactivate our mics and videos, and I will announce that we are back in session at the end of the break.
And we will not reconvene between.
All right, if all board members can please mute their microphones and stop their videos. All right, board members, we are ready to resume. If you can unmute your mics and start your cameras back up.
Mr. Maloney, I'm getting the message that the video has been disabled by the host.
All right, there is a funky setting that we in with. Let me go ahead and see if we can mess with it.
I see board member McHughes is through, so let me try mine now. Nope, I'm still getting the error message. Oh, there we go. Nope, still getting the error message, unfortunately.
Likewise here.
There we go. Okay. Looks like we've got board member Fennell joining us in front of the camera, and we've got board member DeBacher muted, and I don't see your video, board member DeBacher, yet.
Oh, that's correct. It's still giving me the cannot start video.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
There we go.
Okay, great. Staff, are we ready to reconvene officially?
We're ready whenever the chair is ready to reconvene.
Okay, great. Staff, if you would. Yes.
Sorry, I was having a problem hitting my mute button. This is Susie again. And we have verified, we took a few minutes to verify that yes, we can. The condition as written is an engineering condition, and it just defers to the zoning code. You, the board, can add another condition at the end of the resolution or at the end of the conditions that specifies what types of driveway you would direct the applicant to install. And so that could include a Hollywood driveway with 2 paved strips and bare ground in between. And it can also include a driveway with pavers, and not being too prescriptive, it could be kind of a hybrid of those that may better fit into a preservation district. But the driveway requirement is very clear in the zoning code as well. So it's really a design issue. And if you want to provide guidance, that would be the way to do it. So we need to leave the condition in there, but you can help them implement it. It does not have to be that paved driveway. And you can really restrict them from doing the 12-foot paved driveway as well. So
I guess as a general question, why is it the procedure that these requirements are included in resolutions that are not the last entitlements for a renovation or a construction project? I'm just asking for my own edification.
I didn't understand your question.
Sure. I guess I'm saying if this is a clear code requirement and there's a permit coming up, why is it, to board member DeBacher's observation, why is it that some conditions that don't seem directly germane to historic resources or historic districts, why are those included in CHB resolutions as opposed to building permit, conditions or some other way?
I understand. It's because of, I can speak to this project. It's because of an existing condition where there's only they can only get to that allowable 8 feet. And the zoning code allows existing legal non-conforming structures. And if you will, a driveway is a structure. I mean, how can I say this? Your job is to help guide them to get to compliance, I guess. That's what we're looking to the board for. You are our experts. They do have to do the driveway. They have to expand the driveway. And again, it's not something that we can revise that condition in this meeting because it came from our engineering development services team. But we can help inform the condition with a design that the Cultural Heritage Board feels is appropriate for the neighborhood.
Okay, that's a very clear answer. Board Member Bacher, or after I give him the opportunity, any other members, are there any further questions about this issue? And I suppose that with respect to any kind of interest the board may have in an additional condition regarding the materials or the design of the driveway, that we could address that once we, get into the discussion process after we introduce the resolution for purposes of discussion, and then maybe it could be done in a friendly amendment. So Board Member Bacher, any comments regarding staff's follow-up just now?
Yes, Chair Edmondson. I think in this particular case, it would be good to get clarification is that the owner actually objects to having a driveway at all beyond that fence. So maybe there might be an opportunity for our board to act on their behalf and give them some relief from the full 12-foot width, or going with a Hollywood thing as part of historic. If we could clarify that the owner's actual objective is to having a driveway at all. But clearly they need it in order to be able to justify the requirement for having covered parking. And that's really the only application I could see for our board, is giving them that kind of relief to have something less onerous than a solid paved surface 12 feet wide all the way back.
Hi, this is Robin Stefani. That would be our preference.
I guess I suppose I'm not clear on this. We've got the condition as written. It's the existing 8-foot width, and then it's widening to 12 feet. I guess it doesn't describe the angle, but upon clearance of existing structure into garage doors. So, I gather that the relief would be to maintain the 8-foot width, but it sounds to me that what we're hearing from staff is that that is inconsistent with the zoning code.
That is accurate. The zoning code requires the 12-foot width. The 8-foot width between the side yard, or the side of the property and the home, is fine. It's existing and it's legal non-conforming. That to extend it back to the driveway, it has to come into compliance for that new section. Again, we can be real creative. It doesn't have to look like a paved driveway all the way back. It can be a Hollywood drive with a bump out of pavers that can almost look more decorative, but it still qualifies as a driveway.
So with regard to the width language and the site plan references, those are the particular components of this that are implicated by the zoning code section, and for us to change those things would be for us to approve a condition that's inconsistent with the zoning code, which is beyond our power. Does that sound correct?
Correct.
I guess Ms. Stephanie or Board Member Bacher, or both of you, any follow-up to the latest portion of this discussion?
No,
Board Member
let this one lie.
Bacher, if you could start, please. Thank you.
Yeah. Again, my understanding is that the applicant does not have any driveway back there at all after the fence. Objects to putting one in, is being asked to put in a 12-foot wide one. I don't really care that much about a driveway, but if there's a way we can give them relief, I'm open to putting in a Hollywood or something like that, so that they don't have to go to allow them that latitude under historical auspices to get outside of the actual zoning requirement. If not, that's not the biggest thing we have in the fire here today.
Okay. Yeah, I think that, certainly board members would be open to hearing any kind of, suggestions for, an additional condition to soften the impact of the driveway condition with, preferably language that would be specific enough to constitute an enforceable, objective kind of standard, although, reference to design styles is objective enough. But I suppose to the extent we would have language on hand by the time we get to the last chance to do a friendly amendment, that would be helpful for us. Ms. Stephanie, any comment at this time?
I would just like to request that we are allowed to modify the standard to meet a design that is more readily seen in the West End neighborhood to allow for the Hollywood strip going back to the garage?
We will prepare language. Whoops, I'm sorry.
No, it sounds like that was exactly what I was looking for, clarification or feedback from staff on that comment. So sounds to me like we can, believe it or not, move to the applicant presentation, if I'm not mistaken.
Great.
Great.
Well, I think we've covered everything unless there's anything specific that people had questions about regarding any of the historic evaluations that were submitted. Again, the primary purpose of this project is to be able to utilize the space underneath, which is currently being utilized, but it's just not to code. There are some construction related reasons that have to do with the age of the foundation as it was installed, and it not being up to code structurally that have the applicant concerned. And so the reasons for the project are kind of twofold in the sense that they would like to structure fit this with a foundation that is to code, and they would like to have the head height, and that would then also lead to us adding the head height clearance so that they can meet the minimum head height clearance for livable space in their basement.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry.
Minor, sorry, I was just going to say that the changes are pretty minor on the ground floor and are in an area of the house that had been modified more currently and wasn't the original construction. So I think that you'll notice that the windows that exist, if you go back to the existing drawings, are a little bit hodgepodge and kind of were installed over time. And so with the new windows being egress windows and meeting code, they are also meant to make the building more attractive from the exterior by being aligned with the windows above, and which is also a structural element. And then additionally, just for the visual clarity of having them sort of in alignment.
Thank you very much. Unless there are further applicant comments, we'll move to the next portion of our consideration of the item, but I would welcome any further comments from the applicant or applicant team.
I've got a quick question, if I could.
Sure, Board Member Muser, please.
I just wanted to make sure that, not to go back to the driveway again, but I got to go back to the driveway, that we don't end up moving forward with a landmark alteration resolution that locks the applicant into doing something with the driveway that they're not willing to do. Meaning that the landmark alteration resolution won't have any significance or meaning to them because they're not willing to do what it says with regards to the driveway. So I'm hoping that through this process today, that it can be clear what the driveway will be, and that the applicant agrees with that. And therefore, if the landmark alteration then is approved, everybody's happy and on the same page. The applicant doesn't have to come back and see us again for another landmark alteration. So hopefully that makes sense, but that's kind of what's on my mind right now.
Great. Pardon me. Thank you. Yeah, it seems like what I've been hearing from staff is that we are constrained and, you know, whether it's in our resolution, but it would be a material with respect to any code requirements that the project has to meet. Only the city council or, you know, by variance could that be changed. And I think there's interest on the board level for offering as much flexibility as possible within the scope of those legal limitations to the applicant, consistent with our board purpose. So I think we're still back on my question for the applicant, just to make sure that if you have any further comments, if you could, as part of your presentation, if you could offer those at this time.
Yes, I appreciate Brian, your sentiment there. I think that the driveway did take my client by surprise. However, in our discussions, he is willing to put the Hollywood strips in. So that would be acceptable and frankly be a positive outcome of the Cultural Heritage Board indicating that that was a preferred design direction, because I think otherwise it would be hard for us to make that case to the Public Works Department without your support.
Board Member Muser?
Okay, and that's exactly kind of what I needed to hear. And so then we get down the road that far, I'm kind of assuming that we might be able to do a friendly amendment to the resolution with that type of language.
All right, applicant team, moving just to a general question, any further presentation before we go to board member questions of the applicant, and then we are going to open up for board discussion. So applicant team, any further comment?
No.
Board members, any questions for the applicant at this time? And I'm seeing one open mic, but no board member McHugh, no question. Okay. All right. So
I've got one, Chair. I'm sorry, Chair. I do have a couple of questions.
Walker, please.
The railings and stair, we don't have any details in our packages of it. It was basically stated that it was going to be in match what was existing. My recollection from what I saw on the field was that was probably 1970s or 80s railings that were on there. I would just like to get some confirmation of what the intent is there. Second question is lighting on the front of the house. We normally like to hear what they have in mind for lighting. Again, it's not expressed on the documents. And I believe that was it. Those were the two questions that I had over what we're reviewing today.
Great.
Excellent. Yeah, go ahead, staff and applicant team. Anybody who's knowledgeable about the answers to those questions, please feel free to take the floor.
Sure. So it's our understanding that the current railing would be to match the existing railing. We will need to seek hardship from the building department in order to meet that, because of the height. The current height of the railing would not meet current code. However, that is the path that we intend to take. If they do not grant us that, then we might need to increase the height of the railing. And then it's my understanding that additionally, we would probably need to install a handrail to meet current code. But again, if that was something that was supported by Cultural Heritage Board, we would try to seek a hardship for that. The lighting, there's currently a light on the porch. We had not proposed any additional lighting in the front of the house, and there is an existing light. If you look at slide 2020, it shows an additional light towards the west elevation, rear west elevation at the door in the driveway side of the building to the ground floor. And that would remain. It's pretty small, but if you go to the proposed alterations in the presentation, in staff's presentation. And it's my understanding that the front porch railing issue came up during the first Cultural Heritage Board review, and that the direction was to match the existing railing, but I don't know who of you were there. Maybe if you were, you can speak to that if you recall. I was trying to stick to as much of that Cultural Heritage Board approved drawing set as possible.
Thank you. I'll open it back up to Board Member Tabakar and then the board to address that comment regarding the prior consideration. First, I just want to ask Board Member Tabakar, did you find those comments responsive? You had mentioned stairs. So if there were any aspects of that design feature that were not addressed in that comment, if we could get through those at this time as well, please.
Thank you, Chair. I do believe that they've addressed the question of the lighting. As far as the stair and the handrail and the guardrail, I really wasn't asking about the guardrail up at the porch level. If that is in fact low, maybe the board does need to give them support in keeping it low. My question was really about what is the construction of the existing railing? Is it primarily Home Depot 4x4s and 2x4s? A little different. Of course, that square nominal lumber is not historic. Can we approve it? Yeah, but should we? So then I'm trying to get a little bit description of what the current stairway is like. Is it dimension lumber? Is it open riser? What is it we're going to be approving today?
Hi, so it is somewhere between those two as far as quality wood product. I think it was built somewhere along the line, not maybe the original stair had been replaced. So it is not true dimensional lumber, but it has been there for quite some time, and it's pretty plain and simple. And frankly, we hadn't, other than to match it, we really hadn't dug into what it needed to be. And again, the one issue is at the bottom of the landing, where the new railing towards the back of the bottom of the landing will be. There has been some conversation about how high that needed to be. And code calls for 42-inch minimum. However, the railing throughout the rest of the structure is not that tall. And I believe it would look somewhat less historically accurate if it was that tall. And so I think we would seek a variance or some sort of instruction from Cultural Heritage Board to match the height and configuration of the existing stair. The stair risers are closed. The side of the stair is open on the stair tread, but then closed at the porch.
Thank you. That clarifies what we would be approving today. And this is just a folk architecture essentially, and that is not what's there is appropriate.
Yeah.
And I suppose I would ask staff to think ahead to the possibility of some sort of similar thing to the driveway issue with respect to maybe an additional condition, or I don't know how much latitude we have as to helping support a height difference, or so I just would like to think ahead to that issue in case we want to add language that is relevant to that. And I guess I'll ask staff for any feedback on that, and then I'd like to see if any board members wish to take up the Ms. Stephanie's comment regarding the prior board consideration of this, and I suppose whether that sheds light on I forget which design aspect it was, but the comment from Ms. Stephanie that there had been prior board sort of sentiment on a particular issue. Not that it's binding on us in any way at this stage, but it would be good to know if anybody's got a second opinion or a different memory or what have you with that. So staff first, as to the rail height and generally the discussion regarding railing and stairs. if you could.
Chair Edmondson?
Yeah, please.
Just wanted to point out that the resolution that we're considering, item 4 says railings at new landing and stair shall match existing railing in spacing, shape, and material. And that's in the resolution that we're considering.
Thank you, Board Member McHugh. That's helpful. So it sounds to me that staff put that in the resolution and therefore implicitly determined that it's perfectly appropriate as a legal matter. Does that suffice to address the design considerations? Board Member DeBacher, you don't have to, of course, say whether they suffice now, but I suppose, are there any additional questions you'd like to ask to aid your determination?
Thank you, Chair. No additional questions. The resolution does address the stair and the stair rails. It doesn't address the guardrail, which is what's on the porch itself. But I do recall that the previous board action supported leaving the porch rail at its existing height rather than extending it. It would have certainly a visual effect if they had to put additional railings on top of that porch rail. So our preference would be to have it be acceptable at the current height. As I believe we indicated on the
great. So staff, to the extent it's within our authority, it sounds like there may be board interest in expanding the class of design features that are entitled to that treatment under the condition that Board Member McHugh read out. So I would just hope that we could brainstorm, it sounds like guardrails and handrails, maybe that would be enough language, or whether it needs to be stated with reference to a particular portion of the structure. I guess just whatever language would give the most flexibility, be within our authority, and address the concerns that have been raised. Members, I'm sorry, was there a comment on that?
Yes, Chair Edmondson, this is Planner Triple. That the conditions of approval in the draft resolution were added. Conditions 3, 4, and 5, or I'm sorry, 2, 3, and 4. 4 being the one condition that talks about the railing at the new landing and stair matching, were added following discussion among Cultural Heritage Board members during the January 2018 review of the project. So that condition is both mentioned in the minutes of that meeting and was reflected then in the resolution that was signed as a result of that meeting's discussion and approval. And then in drafting this resolution, I simply carried those forward on the project. So those conditions would not be binding because, of course, that resolution has expired. So the board today would have the opportunity to craft a new condition of approval. Additionally, in a discussion checking in with building officials just now, it does look like for a rebuild of a railing on an existing historic dwelling unit, that there would be some leeway with regard to height. So it does. We may be able to work with the height issue as well.
You're muted, Chair Edmondson. Chair Edmondson, you're muted.
Great. Okay, as I was saying, if you can't read lips, it sounds like there's board interest in beefing up the language on that condition to maximize the sort of integrity of these design features and their consistency and their visual appearance. And I think we've discussed it to the degree that would allow some suggestions about language like that to come up when we're discussing the actual vote on the ordinance or the resolution, excuse me. All right. I think we are ready to ask for board members to move the resolution and second the motion. Staff, are there any comments before I ask for a board member to move the resolution?
Yes, we need to open up the public hearing.
Then how about that?
Oh, God.
It's it's not on the script, but it is certainly on the agenda. So, and I said it was a public hearing. So how could I have forgotten so quickly? This is a public hearing. I don't have any identified speakers who I understand wish to speak, but you don't need to have identified yourself in any way if you would like to speak now. We will allow as many as 3 minutes for any kind of comment regarding this project. Staff did mention that we have 2 comments in the record, including the late correspondence today. So I will gavel and open the public hearing. And does any member of the public wish to speak?
Doesn't look like we have any hands, and I will let you know that it looks like there are no members of the public.
You will let me know, I'm sorry, Mike, or was that?
Letting you know right now, it looks like there are no members of the public present. Looks like all staff and the attendees.
Okay. Once again, if any members of the public are having technical difficulties and intended to speak, if you could get us word as soon as possible, we will do our best to give you an opportunity to do that. But I am going to close the public hearing. And now it's appropriate to ask if there are is there any board member who would like to move the resolution as drafted for the landmark alteration permit? Board members, any volunteers? And it looks like board member Muser may be volunteering. Board member Muser, would you like to volunteer?
Sure, I'll volunteer.
Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to move a resolution of the Cultural Heritage Board, the City of Santa Rosa approving a landmark alteration permit for Kelly Residence Alterations located at 230 Boyd Street in the West End Preservation District. Assessor parcel number 010146002, file number LMA20004, and waive the reading of the text.
Second.
Okay, the resolution was moved by board member Muser and seconded by board member Groninga. I'm going to bring this back to the board for general discussions. Unless any board member wishes to speak in any particular order, I'm just going to go once again through the gallery order. So I'm going to begin by asking board member McHugh if you would like to open our general board discussion, please.
I'll say that I'm supportive of the project, and with the modifications that we've talked about relative to the driveway, we can do something in the resolution to facilitate the discussion that we've had. I would be supportive of that.
Great, thank you, board member McHugh, and that is actually a good reminder that if board members would like to make any kind of general statements of support or opposition to the sort of 2 categories of potential language tweaks that we might make, one with respect to the driveway and then the other one with respect to condition number 4. And board member McHugh, do you have any, do you wish to make any comment regarding the condition number 4, the subject matter of that, which is railings and stairs, their materials, their their height, their shape.
Only that we provide the flexibility to the applicant to be able to be successful.
Okay, great. So you sounds like you're supportive of both of those. And Board Member Groninga, if you'd like to go next. I realize everybody's galleries might be in different orders, but Board Member Groninga, if you could share any comments you have, please.
Yes, I'll be brief. I certainly support the project. I also support the concept without knowing the exact language on the proposed changes, I guess you'd say, or friendly amendments that may be coming. And in particular, I'd just like to say that I support the spirit in which they are made in terms of assisting the applicant in this case. And no further thoughts, comments, or whatever, so I'll go mute myself.
Go mute yourself is going to be a new expression, I think. Vice Chair Fennell, if you'd like to go next, any comments?
I support this project and would like to see the applicant guided as best as they can to not have to make too many changes to make that driveway. I've seen so many, we have so many zero lot lines and so many narrow driveways, and I just was looking out my window and I think my driveway is maybe 7 feet, 8 feet at the most, and my next door neighbor's driveway is right there beside it. And you know, I would like to see it be an easy process for them, and I would like to see us do everything we can to see to it that process is easy. That's it.
Great, thank you, Vice Chair. Board Member Muser, please.
Yes, I also support the project and support giving the applicant some language for the driveway, and also the use of the historic building code when it comes to their steps and their railing and such. I believe that because they are in a historic neighborhood and they have a historic structure, I believe that they can use the historic building code and maybe circumvent current codes as far as railing heights and stuff. I've kind of actually had personal experience with that. But again, and I'm looking forward to the language for, I think it's item number 5, so that it'll be really more in compliance with the neighborhood, because what's being proposed in item 5 is really out of the historic nature of that neighborhood. So that's all, but I'm in support.
Thank you, Board Member Muser. Board Member Garrett, please.
I too support the project. I agree with everyone else so far that the 8-foot driveway is more consistent with the historic districts, and that we should allow a Hollywood type drive or whatever is possible to have it visually be consistent with that 8-foot. So I guess that's it. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And Board Member Tabasher, please.
Thank you, Chair. I actually have some language that we can, would like to make a friendly amendment for the resolution. 3 separate elements. Go ahead, sir.
No, go ahead.
Okay. For item 2, add the sentence that states windows to be per configuration shown on elevations received 5/26/2020. That's it, because I really don't support the larger window shown on the other one that was part of the package. On item 4, this is the railings. I'd like to add the additional flexibility, and as mentioned by Board Member Muser, in the following way. Now add the following sentence. Existing solid guardrail at porch is a key design feature and shall remain in existing configuration. That will give them the latitude they need for not raising the rail. And finally, item 5. Add the sentence, board supports the driveway beyond the fence to be 2-strip Hollywood type. And that's it.
Thank you, Board Member DeBacher. Very, very impressive speed with putting that language together, and very helpful. And it sounded pretty appropriate in terms of the level of specificity to me. So before I make my comments, I guess I'll just indicate that when I finish, I'll want feedback from staff and the applicant with respect to that language. And then I understand that you might have language of your own, and we can compare that. So I'm very much in support of this project. It's the same, now that we've sorted out the issue with the windows that was astutely observed by Board Member DeBacher. It's the same. We have carte blanche, or the same level of discretion and authority as we would with any other projects, notwithstanding that. But I do want to not, go terribly, contrary to precedent, and we're not doing that. In fact, we're adding a couple of flexibility, couple of improvements to the flexibility of the project, and it sounds like there is strong support for modifications to conditions 4 and 5 from all board members. And then Board Member DeBacher introduced language for condition 2. And I suppose we didn't comment on the windows in the course of this last round, but I couldn't agree more with Board Member DeBacher's sentiments about which design is superior. And I think that the condition that he read out would be entirely appropriate. But we're happy to hear more. So that's my only comment. I'm in support of the project, and I'd like to turn it over to staff and or the applicant team for any kind of follow-up. And it sounds like the follow-up is going to pertain to those now 3 areas of language changes. And I suppose we could address those in numerical order, starting with number 2, then going to 4, then going to 5.
Chair Edmondson, can I interject? We should probably introduce those all as friendly amendments. I would recommend, rather than modifying condition number 5, that we add a condition that kind of informs number 5 down below. And at the bottom, there will be a section of the resolution that will say Cultural Heritage Board conditions. And so Member DeBacher, if you want to go ahead and introduce those, I'm sorry, again, as amendments, and Board Member Muser, you will need to accept or not.
Can I interject? Can I interject, please? I guess what I'm asking first is whether staff has any alternative language, or the applicant has any alternative language or comments regarding Board Member DeBacher's, because I wouldn't know how to go forward with a friendly amendment if we don't have language.
Hi, this is Robin Stefani, and that sounded great to me and clear, and what we were originally asking for. So I appreciate that support.
Great. And staff, any objection if the board were to be interested in adopting language substantially identical or exactly identical to Board Member DeBacher's?
Chair Edmondson, staff would recommend that the board consider striking condition number 5 as it's written in the draft resolution and replace it with language stating that paving shall be done in compliance with zoning ordinance 20-36.070 subsection L, except that the paved surface may be alternatively designed. That would give maximum flexibility to the design of the driveway while remaining in compliance with the zoning code, since it does seem like the surface design is the primary issue here. I think what that does not do, however, is address paving up to the fence. So from the street edge up to the fence, and it may be that Board Member DeBacher does want to see that portion of the driveway paved, with the remainder of the driveway being done in an alternative design such as a Hollywood style.
Board Member DeBacher, any reaction to Mr. Tripple's comment?
No strong reaction. I agree. It's potentially an oversight if we were to. I wasn't intending to actually strike that one. If we do strike it, I agree that we do need to give them the relief that saying they can hold it only to 8'5" for the existing stretch in front of the fence would give them the relief they need. I'm not sure that calling for full compliance with 203670.L, which is going to require 12-foot width, will give them the relief we were hoping to provide with a narrower Hollywood style. I'm putting that out there before we go ahead and finalize the language.
And I want to just add to that that we should, be clear with respect to which portion, if it's going to be less than all, it should be clear with whatever language we use about which areas are going to need to be paved in a particular manner if the board chooses to go with more specificity on the design style and the materials. Board Member Dr.
I think we can leave the design of the materials to the applicant on their approach.
Okay.
While I would not like to see a blacktop set of scripts representing a Hollywood drive. Neither do I see that we need to impose that.
Okay, if any board members disagree, I would ask you to make a comment before we get to making the friendly amendment, which may be imminent. So, Mr. Triple, based on that, if you just maybe run through what you think might be a responsive different proposition for the driveway issue.
Well, if with the Hollywood style driveway, the driveway width could still be 12 feet, except that you would only have your two paved actual drive, sections where the vehicle would drive down it. So to go to a Hollywood style design would still allow the driveway to technically comply with the zoning code, but yet more of the surface would be a non-paved surface.
Although I think there was the concern that without referencing the existing 8-foot width and sort of blessing it, that there could be, I suppose, a misinterpretation or an over-application of the general language about the zoning code compliance obligation, and that could be mistaken.
Chair, my concern is that if we try to blend the two together, we get a 12-foot wide drive that has a 18-inch or 24-inch planter strip down the middle. The wheels of a car aren't a variable. All cars' wheel spacing is approximately the same width. They're not 12 feet apart. They're not 10 feet apart. They're not even 8 feet apart. The 12 feet is to give them some maneuvering room outside the garage, I suspect. But you certainly would not look at a 12-foot wide drive with a narrow planter strip down the middle and call that a Hollywood drive. So that kind of gets outside of our intent. and of the relief that we were trying to provide. I would propose at this time that we move forward with just getting items 2 and 4 on the books as a friendly amendment. Get that behind us, and then maybe come back to 5.
I think that's a good suggestion. So staff, I take it you jotted down Mark's words when he was expressing the new language for 2 and 4. I did, but I would ask if you have done that, if you could just read that back. And then the question would be to Board Member Muser, who made the motion, and Board Member Groniger, who seconded it. Board Member Muser, if you so choose, you can introduce the friendly amendment, and Board Member Groniger would have the opportunity to second it. So staff, I suppose let's just make sure we are final on the language.
Bear with us a sec. I am checking with staff to see if we've got somebody who took down comprehensive notes from that.
Okay, Board Member DeBacher.
I'm sorry, Chair.
Board Member DeBacher could do it, but let me see if I can capture it here. For condition number 2, it would be an additional sentence to be appended as the final sentence, and it would read as follows: windows to be per configuration shown on elevations received on May 26th, 2020. And for number 4, a new sentence to be appended as the concluding sentence to read as follows: existing solid guardrail at porch is a key design feature and shall remain in existing configuration. I suppose maybe a different way to express that, and shall remain, I don't know if the in existing configuration is vague in any way, but maybe I'm just not putting it together right now, but that was what I understand was the language. Board Member DeBacher, is that correct?
That is correct.
Does staff think that in existing configuration needs to be modified in any way, or does that provide enough clarity?
Chair Edmondson, this is Planner Triple. That's fine. It's absolutely clear as stated.
Fantastic. So the language that I read has been suggested as a friendly amendment, and Board Member Muser, are you inclined to make a motion to make a friendly amendment to the resolution that's on the floor?
Yeah, I think
consistent with that language.
I think both those amendments are great, and they're accepted.
And Board Member Groniger, do you second?
I second the language changes, both friendly amendments.
Great. So the resolution on the floor is modified to include those in the places that I stated. And now we'll move on to addressing the driveway issue. There was a staff comment earlier about a section maybe being added to the end about Cultural Heritage Board conditions. I wasn't super clear on that. I just sort of thought this whole section was the condition section already. So I just want to clarify if we're adding a new subsection or something. But separate and apart from that, we are trying to arrive at language, and I'm not sure whose court the ball is in right now, but we had Planner Triple suggest language, Board Member DeBacher respond, and I don't think that we've reached a point of mutual satisfaction as to the language. So let's just try to work toward that. And I'm not sure who to kick it off, but perhaps maybe Ms. Stephanie, you could weigh in
Sure.
or punt it to staff.
I was just looking up one of the materials that I use to just confirm and look at the guidelines of the Secretary of Interior. And under Hollywood Strip, they recommend that materials which maximize green areas such as permeable pavers and i.e. grass the utilization of grass areas to maximize percolation areas, and materials should be limited in use as they relate to impervious surfaces, and you should avoid materials such as asphalt, concrete, and brick pavers. So I think that
it sounds like the secretary had a lot of the same design considerations as board member DeBacher, strangely enough.
Go figure.
Yeah, expertise.
Yeah.
Chair Edmondson?
Yes.
If I might, if we do have a revision on the language that I would like to propose that I think might help us move forward. If that's okay with you?
Yeah, please proceed.
Sure. So we've crafted the alternative language that would read: paved driveway from back of sidewalk to garage. Board supports alternative driveway design, such as Hollywood style, provided that the clear dimension of the driveway width from existing structure to the rear garage is 12 feet.
So I think that the problem lies in that we have only 8 feet clear where the house sits to the property line, if that.
Right. So now on the existing language, it seems to, contemplate the maintenance of the existing 8-foot width. I suppose it was determined that that would be legal nonconforming or somehow or other consistent with the code.
That is correct, Chair Edmondson.
So I guess I just want a little bit of clarification on, verbiage that doesn't seem to impose an obligation to widen the entire driveway to 12 feet.
So we address that obligation by describing it as the clear dimension of the driveway width, such that you would have to have a width that is clear 12 feet for a vehicle to pass through, except that width doesn't have to be paved. So it would not require it would just require providing some amount of paved surface for a vehicle to travel down the driveway, while ensuring that the width of the driveway clear for a vehicle to pass through is 12 feet from the rear of the existing residence to the garage door.
Okay, but we're going to be preserving, obviously, I would assume the 8 feet between the rear of the structure and the street entrance, the curb cut. So I guess what I'm looking for would be just the exact language that we want to settle on. It seems like most of what the existing language is could be preserved. But I just am looking for a little...
I can make a proposal on that if you wish.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you, Board Member DeBacher.
Okay. All right. Looking at item 5 as it is, taking the existing language of the first and second lines, putting a period at the end of the phrase foot width from street to back of residence, and then doing a period, and then beginning a new sentence that states paving from the back of house to garage shall be, a driveway shall be provided from the back of the house to the garage with 12-foot maneuvering width per zoning ordinance section 12-36.70L. Paving may be configured, let me rephrase that. Board supports paving configured in a dual strip Hollywood configuration. That should give them both the maneuvering what they're looking for and the paving.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful. Staff, I suppose I would ask if there's any disagreement that language would be effective, and then if we could read back the language, I think maybe the zoning code citation would be to section 20. But other than that, I certainly don't have any suggestions of my own as to different language. So Mr. Triple or Ms. Murray, if you could.
Sure, so I can get Chair Edmondson. What I have based upon Board Member DeBacher's comments is paved driveway from back of sidewalk to garage location maintaining the existing 8-foot width from street to back of residence. Driveway shall be provided from back of house to garage with 12-foot maneuvering width per zoning ordinance, section 20-36.070, subsection L. Board supports paving in a dual strip Hollywood configuration.
That sounded precisely correct, and I have no objection to the language. If there's no further comment from anybody, including the applicant team, I will put the language to Board Member Muser as to whether he wants to make a friendly amendment. And it sounds like there's nothing further. Board Member Muser, would you like to make a friendly amendment to condition of approval number 5 on page 3 of the resolution?
Excuse me, Chair.
Yes, Board Member.
Excuse me, Chair. I think he needs to, I think that is a friendly amendment for Board Member Muser to accept, not to make, since he's already made the additional resolution.
Okay. If staff wants me to express that in a different way, if you could please let me know.
Chair Edmondson, you can go ahead and make that friendly amendment if you like. And then the board members that made the first and the second would agree to that friendly amendment, and that would become the motion on the table.
Is the maker of the original motion prohibited from being the maker of the friendly amendment?
No, but there's no reason that he has to be. I mean, it's a bit of
right.
discussion.
So I'm just trying to figure out if this is important enough to care about for legal.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
But
okay.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood that they somebody making the resolution couldn't amend their own resolution. I thought someone else had to do it. Sorry about that.
That's good. It's always good to figure that out because it's certainly I didn't know the answer to that question, so it's a good one. Any question I don't know the answer to is a good question. Isn't it funny how that works?
Chair Edmondson, if I could, if this is the recording secretary, typically since the other board members have spoken, Board Member DeBacher, he made the friendly amendment, and then Board Members Muser and Groninga would accept or not accept that friendly amendment.
That's fantastic.
Correct.
So the friendly amendment.
Patty said it better than I. Thank you, Patty. Mm-hmm. That's correct.
Okay, so that's now been put to Board Member Muser. Do you accept the friendly amendment of Board Member DeBacher?
Absolutely.
And Board Member Groninga, do you second that?
I absolutely accept, yes.
Okie dokie. So that will, the manner in which that will apply is we're just going to replace section 5 with that. Suppose that's the right way to describe it, the simplest way to describe it. All right. We are ready to ask for your votes unless there's any last comments. And I will just summarize our changes one last time before I ask for votes. Any comments from staff or the board or the applicant? Okay, and we had a training on these Zoom meetings, including the manner of voting, and I think the recording secretary is going to call out the names one by one. So we had a resolution moved by Board Member Muser, seconded by Board Member Groninga, as per the draft attached to our agenda, as modified by the friendly amendments to sections, or pardon me, to conditions 2, 4, and 5 on pages 2 and 3. And recording secretary, if you would have a roll call vote and take the votes of the board, please.
Okay. Board Member DeBacher.
Aye.
Board Member Garrett.
Aye.
Board Member Groninga.
Aye.
Board Member McHugh.
Aye.
Board Member Muser.
Aye.
Vice Chair Fennell.
Aye.
And Chair Edmondson.
Aye. And that concludes the vote. The resolution passes unanimously with 7 ayes and no noes, no abstentions. So that concludes our consideration of this item. To the applicant and applicant team, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your assistance and your help, and best of luck on your project.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
And with that, we will move to the report items. We've got board member reports followed by department reports. And I did just want to touch on the matters that are reflected in the draft minutes that we considered at the beginning of this meeting. There were items for future agendas that board member DeBacher introduced and described, and I just would like maybe during department reports just an update about what board action might remain to be necessary to get those agendized, or if board member DeBacher has any modifications or some of those have become moot for whatever reason. I'd just like to address that issue so we make sure we're on the right track. And I don't have any board member reports, and so I'll open it up. Does any other board member have anything to report? And board member
I do, Chair. Yeah.
Sure.
Very briefly, we're representing the St. Rose district, or at least that's my assigned area. Getting a lot of comments on the homeless situation, which doesn't our purview. But there are a lot of people are coming to me with the issues relating to homeless in San Rose. Surprisingly less comments about Caritas lately. None in the last month or so. So St. Rose is a very active neighborhood on these issues, and I felt necessary to report that. That's all I've got.
Thank you very much. Any other board members with anything to report at this time? Department reports, please.
Hi, this is Susie. I'm back. So I first want to talk about Member DeBacher's getting things agendized. There's a three-step process, and I cannot put my fingers on those exact 3 steps. So I am going to make the commitment that I will have that for you at the next regular meeting. I may be able to do it at tomorrow night's meeting because I think it would be helpful information for both boards. But I have to make sure that we don't want to cloud that agenda too much. So, but I think we can certainly get those 3 steps out as an email to the entire Cultural Heritage Board. So you'll see those. It's just a matter of finding the email. And right now I've got too many electronic devices going. So stay tuned. The other thing, as I just mentioned, tomorrow night, as you all know, we have a very big item. We'll be watching, or we'll be considering several matters pertaining to the Caritas Village project. Looking forward to seeing you all then. We also have a lot of upcoming downtown projects. They include sites similar to the SMART site. There are other locations that are in preservation districts and downtown, and will require more evening meetings. So I am going to ask you all to look at your calendars. Some of the dates that come to mind are September 2nd and 3rd. We might be past those dates. I'm more concerned about September 16th and 17th. You will be getting email from board secretaries. Please, please, please check your emails if you can daily, because we're trying to get 2 boards to respond right now and lock in those dates. So that's a plead from me and staff for that. And I think right now that kind of sums up my department reports. We've got an exciting couple of months coming up, you guys. So thank you in advance for your service.
Thank you, Susie. When it rains, it pours. It'll be tough for me to find free evenings because not only am I extremely popular, but going to a lot of movie theaters and raves and traveling on and taking a lot of flights. So pretty busy. But all right, if there's nothing further, I think we're done with our business today, and I'm going to adjourn to our next well, to our, I'll offer Board Member DeBacher a chance to speak, but when I adjourn, it will be to we are having the joint meeting, as Ms. Murray said, tomorrow, starting at 5 p.m. via Zoom with the Design Review Board, and the agenda is available online, including instructions to participate, and then we will have our regularly scheduled meetings subsequent to that. Board Member DeBacher.
Yes, just very briefly, and as a heads up, it looks like I'm going to be scheduled for my second knee replacement coming up this fall. Right now, that's tentatively set for sometime in October. If that happens, I'm going to be unavailable for at least 6 and perhaps as many as 9 weeks. So just wanted to put that out there.
Great. I'm sure that staff appreciates that, and we certainly do too. Thank you, Mark. With that, I am going to adjourn with my gavel hands, and we will see you at those meetings. All right. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate your time and effort. Good job. Take care.